This is the plaintiff, Max Weisberg. He says his landlord, the defendant, is trying to play games with him by refusing to return his security deposit, and he won't stand for it. That's right, today's his day in court. He looks forward to presenting his case to the judge and feels very confident he'll walk out of here today a winner. He's suing for $2,600, the amount the defendant's trying to steal from him. This is the defendant, Ali Al-Fabiani. He says the plaintiff paid his rent on time, but was a problem because he ran very high heating bills, which bothered him because he paid for it. Bottom line, the guy moved out early, breaking his lease. The money he kept went to unpaid rent, and he's pretty sure the plaintiff's gonna walk out of here unhappy because he's gonna lose today. He's accused of being an unfair landlord.
All parties, please raise your right hand.
Welcome back to the People's Court. Next case on the docket. The plaintiff says the defendant is a thief, a security deposit thief. But the defendant says the plaintiff was a big problem. Huge heating bills. It's the case of, is the heat on? High.
Thank you, Douglas.
You're welcome, ma'am.
All right, Mr. Weisberg, you're suing your former landlord, Mr. Altibani. Did I get that right? For $2,600, a return of your security deposit you say is wrongfully withholding. What's going on?
Well, I moved in at the end of February in 2017. We signed a one-year lease agreeing that there'd be no rent increase. First year went by fine. We signed a new lease, kind of gave it to me on the spot, but I signed it. My wife was present.
Well, you're a grown-up. You don't have to sign it on the spot.
Well, he threw it out to me, and
threw it out to me and said, sign this or I'll kill you, right? Yeah.
In New York, if someone hands you a
No,
lease,
in
you
New
sign.
York, you make a decision that you really want the place, and so you decide that you're going to rent it before the next guy rents it, and so you rent it. Okay.
I didn't read it too carefully, but I signed it. Fast forward 6 months.
Did you two have a pretty good relationship during the time that you lived there?
It was a little tough. You know, he was always complaining about the heat. There was always too much heat. We were using too much heat. He wanted me to put it at 64. It was very cold in the apartment. In fact, it was so cold, my kid used to misbehave just to get Santa to give us some coal every year. So it was very cold in the apartment.
So you did not have a good relationship?
It was an old place. You know, there were a lot of cracks in the house, a lot of wind coming in. So, you know, we wanted to put the heat up a little bit. My wife would put it up to a 70 on occasion.
How was your relationship with the defendant?
It was rough. I'd say if you factor in the heat, it was difficult. If you take out the heat, we loved each other. It's rare to see a Jew and an Arab get along in New York City, but we managed to do it. So.
You describe it as your own Palestinian conflict. That's how you actually describe it in the complaint.
Well, actually, every day he would come by and he would say, "Turn it down, 64." He would shout.
Yeah, I got news for you. Every landlord wants you. Because I'm going to guess that you pay the heating bill, right?
I pay the bill,
okay,
yes.
So my father was an Arab, and he yelled at us every day over but we're from Florida, so it was an AC bill. But, you know, yeah, it's funny. All right, so how long did you live there?
So in total, we lived there 2 years.
Okay, now the crux of this is you move out. You think you're moving out at the end of the lease. You don't think he's moving out at the end of the lease. Let's talk about that. When did you move out?
We moved out officially on February 24, 2019. I thought at being the end of 1 year, it would be February 28th, would be the official end of the lease. We ended up cleaning the apartment the following weekend. And so all of our...
Following weekend when? What
so that
date?
would be March 3rd. So because I'm such a great tenant, the best tenant, I fixed all the holes. I cleaned it all up. I mopped
that's
everything,
what you're supposed to do.
Scrubbed the wall. So the 28th was the middle of the week, so I had, because of work, I had to come on the weekend, and I did do all the work, did all clean up, and I have all the photos.
Do you have your lease?
I do.
Let me see your lease. Is your lease an original, like it's an original ink?
Original ink.
Yeah. Do you have your lease?
Yes.
May I see your lease? Okay, they're both originals, so there's two originals signed. Who wrote the lease?
Me.
Okay. Who are the gentlemen with you?
That's my son. Two sons.
Both your sons?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So the lease date begins on February 30th. There is no February 30th.
I know. I make mistakes.
Not ever, not in the past, not in the future, not in America, not in Israel, not in wherever you're from. No, there's no February 30th.
I make mistakes like March 1st to March 30. And that's why
Well, but you understand also,
Yes.
it says 1 year lease. Right, you guys know, right? Okay,
Yes.
good. All right, 1 year. It says here, lease date 1 year, term 1 year. 1 year would be March 1st to February 28th or 29th, depending on it's a leap year. That would be the 1 year. So when do you first talk to him? Because what you're arguing, if it's going to be March 30th, that wouldn't be a year lease. That would be a 13-month lease.
Right.
Right?
Right.
And that's what you're hanging your hat on. You're saying, hey, it's right in the lease, March 30th. Guess what's in the original lease? Do you guys have a copy of this?
Yeah.
That he got. Do you have a copy of this or just the one your dad had?
Just the one that he had.
Oh, well, this is a drum roll, please. It says February 30th through March 3rd. So that's kind of sloppy,
That's
right?
why I know that's why I explained
You
to
want to
him.
see it, boys, or are you good?
That's why I explained.
Just
George,
keep us out of it and get us out.
That's
right?
why I explained to him when he need 1 more years. I say, listen, I'm going to give you a new list to March 30 because February sometimes snow, nobody going to rent it. He said, okay, he accepted. And second
Why'd you
one,
write March 3rd on his, and why'd you call it a 1 year? Why didn't you call it a 13-month lease?
I see it. I don't know, really. I know. Is okay.
I did see the other lease. He never wrote.
Come on
He
to the
ne-
mic first and then talk. Okay.
He never wrote
He
March
said you
3rd.
said-
It was March 30th. The one that he has.
Yeah, no, the one that he has. But he also wrote this one. He also called it a 1 year lease.
Yeah.
He also had it start on February 30th, and he had it end on March 3rd. Here's the lease that
Third?
you don't. Yeah, 3 is what he wrote.
That's actually the list. Sorry, that's actually the list that we were in the backyard, and he brought those two documents, and then we kind of like we asked him to go upstairs, and we did the whole paperwork, and those two documents are from the same date.
March 3.
Threw it out and I signed it.
Yeah.
Same
All
thing.
right, here's the deal. How much of this is a security deposit? 2,600. And then when did you leave?
March 3rd. I cleaned up.
When did you think was your last day? Did
I
you
thought
think
my
you were just
last
getting
day-
3 days of rent free, or
No,
what?
no,
what-
I moved out the 24th, but we had just some cleaning supplies. I wanted to be a good tenant.
Okay, if you say that one more time, I'm going to throw my gavel at you. All right?
The
You're
best tenant.
supposed to leave the place clean and on time. The only question here is what's on time, okay? I'm such a good tenant. I'm the best tenant. I patch the holes I make. Yeah, you're supposed to do that. All right. So there's no question that you were there past the 1 year. I mean, that's like pretty clear from what you're saying. And then when do you say they left?
I believe it is 4:05. It's my son Hino.
I had videos of him, making me come to the
His-
property to get his bicycle because he had access to the basement.
I believe
to the
second
heater,
now,
to everything. My father gave him access to everything when he talks about
Because
heat.
he's such a good landlord.
He was bringing the heat up and down. So on the 4th, I have video of him taking out lamps and bicycles from the basement on the
And
4th.
moving. So he's definitely
Yeah,
there.
and he's still there. Still stuff.
I want to explain to you about what he said about the heat. You mean this? I like this people. I give him the yard. He lives second floor. When he move, he have door, small one. I say, listen, that first one, the yard for the first apartment, but you can't go in. I give him the key. Okay. Leave it 75, 65, I don't care. What he doing? He opened the heat what he want. The tenant, he complain. Why you play with, I go in the morning, they shut off. I say,
Okay,
all night.
I don't mean to be rude, but I really don't care about the heat because you have the right to rent to whoever you want. If you don't want to rent to them, you don't have to rent to them. You don't need an explanation. Go ahead.
We moved the thermostat to the hallway because it's always
Oh
cold.
my gosh, I don't care about
All
the
right,
heat.
no, that's-
I
no
don't.
problem, no problem.
Honestly, I do not care about
No
the heat.
problem.
It doesn't matter. That ship sailed. It's all about when they move out and what they should pay, and it's awfully confusing because even the other lease says March 3rd, and then you say they're still there March.
Is
You
it
have video on
30?
March 4th.
4th of them taking out stuff.
Can I
and,
see the video?
I sent it, but I have it on my phone.
Yeah, but I want to see it in your phone because that's where the date stamp is.
And they didn't give me notice. No notice.
Well, you knew the lease was
Never
over.
asked for a deposit.
And you know the lease is over, and he didn't sign a new lease, so you know he doesn't have to give you notice if the lease is over. The question is, when was the lease over? And then you guys tried to rent another place that turns out to belong to him, right?
No, it's still.
To another.
My brother's living there.
Okay.
Right around the block.
And according to you, he put the kibosh on it?
He said, no, we were going to go forward. It was all great. Let me ask my father. You know, of course, the heat thing came up again. I know you don't want to hear about that, but that came up again. And he didn't want to rent it to us. So this whole thing about him being surprised about us leaving, no way.
No, he's not surprised.
He also told me he had to leave. He kicked me
Whole
out.
December, he wanted us to leave.
He kept telling me, you'll find a good place. You'll find a good place. He wanted me to
same
leave.
day.
So-
Really, everybody knows that, you know, you do understand you don't own it. He owns it. If he doesn't want to rent to you, tough, and that's just how it is. March 4th, 7/27. What day of the week is March 4th? It's a Monday. Were you there on a Monday at 7/27, still moving a few things out?
I returned the key that Monday and
To who?
dropped it off.
That's me, voicemail, a voice message.
You didn't put the key. Same thing. Funny.
I'm like, that's the famous bike. That had to be there.
Where was the bike?
Basement, not in the apartment.
Did you move anything else from the apartment?
After the lease ended, just we had the cleaning supplies, so I came back and cleaned it,
That's on the 4th. Yeah, we
which was on the
moved out
4th. I
everything
was there
out.
on the 4th, but we were cleaning,
They have-
patching holes. We were not. There was no moving.
Why were we there on the 4th if even your lease in the light most favorable to you ends on the 3rd and probably should have ended on February 30th?
We were cleaning both Saturday and.
Yeah, I know what you were doing. I'm saying,
I could have walked away, done nothing, but I'm such a good tenant.
no,
I kept cleaning.
what you don't understand is that you're at risk of me finding you inhabiting it for the next month and having to pay rent. That's where the problem lies, when you're there after the term is up. So jokes aside, you know, you're there the other day. You're there the next day. The monthly rent is the $2,600, right?
Yes.
And I should point out too that when we were moving out, he pulled out his copy of the lease and said, "You have 30 more days. You have 30
Right,
more days.
right.
You can leave whenever you want." I said, "I'm a good tenant. I'm going to clean up. Don't worry about it."
I'm gonna
He said,
blow my
"You
brains
take all
out
the time
right
you
here.
want."
I'm
He
gonna-
said, "Take all the time you want."
You haven't seen conflict like you're going to see in about 2 seconds.
So, do landlords typically wrongfully withhold tenant security deposits when they leave?
I'd say yeah.
Why do you say? I mean, they're not honest, is what you're saying.
Yeah, they're just trying to cash in on some money.
You think so? All you're trying to do is cash in. That's the landlord's game.
They're probably making an excuse of whatever they can to hold your money.
And sir?
I think they're crooked as mechanics, man.
Wow.
Yeah, straight up.
Okay, can I just tell you something? So I have this other gig, and we cover like celebrities and whatnot. Anybody tell you look like somebody famous?
Yes, sir.
Does it start with a J?
Nah.
Ah, who's yours?
Mr. Criminal.
You know what I'm thinking? I'm thinking Jeremy Meeks. You know who that is?
Yeah, I know who that
It's
is.
the whole thing.
Yeah.
See it at all?
Yeah, criminal.
No, I wasn't saying that. I was not saying that. I'm sorry. Going inside the courtroom.
All right, folks, this is kind of messy because of the problems with the contract where it says 1 year over and over, and it says, you know, and it starts on February 30th, and then one says March 30th, the other one says March 3rd, et cetera, et cetera. I can tell you that clearly I am not finding that this lease goes to the end of March. I'm absolutely not finding that. The next question becomes, does their presence there on the 4th, which is 1 day after the 3rd, would that entitle you to $2,600? And I think that would be a very draconian result, given if what the last thing he's moving is a bike from the basement. And I'm not willing to do that. I've had cases where I have done that, but not in this one, not with these facts. So what I am going to do is order you folks to return the security deposit on this case. There's a concept in the law that says that any ambiguity in the contract, any confusion in a contract is to be determined against the drafter of the contract. Do you understand what I mean? And the reason for that is obvious, because if you make it all confusing, then you don't get to benefit from the confusion. Based on what I'm reading and the date of March 3rd, which was given to them in your father's handwriting, I'm going to call it a day, and I'm going to order the return of the security deposit, $2,600 verdict to the plaintiff.
So the plaintiffs will get their $2,600 back. Mr. Altibani, what do you think about what the judge just decided?
What are you gonna do? This guy, he's a liar. And if I see like that all my life, I give him everything, I help him, and he's liar. Because he usually pay me, not me. I pay him because he leave without notice. And I don't know how the list theory.
Well, the contract was over, so
the
he didn't have to
contract
notice.
March theory. I don't know. What the theory?
You didn't know.
But
that was a bad mistake.
But it's not mistake. Yeah. This guy, he's a liar because he tell me I'm bad owner. I give him everything. I do a lot of things for him with his family. I leave him in the basement. I give him the basement storage. Yeah. I give him the yard. I give him everything. And he's a liar and never see. If I know, I'm glad he moving out. He go and high, make the heat high. He close it. He open it what he want. He close the light in the hallway. You see, Tenant, in the hallway, in the first place.
Well,
close it. Why is my daughter, she can't sleep?
Well, look, I'm sorry. You got to get the money back. But you're happy he's gone, okay? Right?
Yeah. Thank God.
Thank God.
He's
okay, very good.
Out.
Okay.
Thank God. Thank God.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Weisberg, he's out of sight. Okay.
Tough act to follow.
What do you think of what he was just saying?
Well, I'll tell you, my kid could have written a better lease with a crayon and a napkin. That lease was ridiculous. It made no sense.
How'd you know about that?
I don't understand how anybody could have made sense of that. He's complaining about the heat. I mean, it was a very drafty apartment. There was no way we could be using a lot of heat. It was just a very old place, falling apart. I didn't lie. We told the truth. I admitted everything that I had done. All the facts were straight, but the fact is, lease was confusing.
You're getting your money back. How about that?
That is very exciting.
Good.
I will spend it wisely.
Okay.
I'm sure she'll decide how I spend it. But
you happy where you're living now?
I am happy. It's much nicer. It's a newer place, not as drafty, and we actually have our own thermostat, so no arguments.
Good for you. Congratulations. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Sign a few documents on your way out of the courtroom, and that will do it. Harvey?
Okay, Doug, the judge talked about ambiguities in contracts. This is pretty much the case in every state, that if there's an ambiguity, it's construed against the person who wrote it.